Hey guys, this is David McHugh. Maybe you've realized right now that he's not here. It's true. I am actually at the airport ready to get on my plane. Noelle, my wife, and I, we are going to Virginia to speak to another group of teens about Jesus, and I could not make it to the Forged Retreat this weekend. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the youth minister at the Cathedral, and for those of you that do, I'm the same. Basically, I get asked, and Noelle, my wife, gets asked to speak around the country to teens about Jesus. But my favorite times of speaking about God, about Jesus, is like these places that have nothing to do with somebody asking me to be there. It's just like this random place. It could be on the shuttle, connecting, this plane to this plane or whatever, or it could be at on the plane itself, or at a restaurant, whatever. It's not these planned out occasions. It's just happens in this like normal conversation. And it's not because I'm a religious person. I think like I get that a lot. People are, oh, he's a very religious person. Not me, I'm spiritual. Like a lot of people these days say they're spiritual, but to be religious is like this totally different thing that you don't want to be. You don't want to be religious. It's not that. It's just that well, let me tell you what it is. What comes up in conversation a lot in these interactions, like either on the plane or whatever, in a coffee shop, whatever, is somebody starts telling me, I'm not even talking to them, I'm kind of an introvert, but somebody starts talking to me, and somehow in the conversation they end up describing what makes them happy. And I mean, it always happens that way, where like we start talking about happiness, and I can't help but share, well, did you know there's a such thing as eternal happiness? Like, do you believe that? And then they'll be like, well, and I was like, I can give you strong evidence that there is a such thing as eternal happiness. And I know I've talked about this. You guys who know me, like, know I talk about this all the time. But for those of you who don't know, or even if you do know me, like, this is a good thing to get in your brain, like, because it's the most important thing about life, really, is happiness. And I can give you evidence of that, is that you know that there's a such thing as eternal happiness. Because every single person that has ever existed in the history of mankind has wanted to be happy forever and ever and ever. Like, they make all their decisions in life, like, just to be happy. Why did you pick that job? Because I thought it'd make me happy. Why did you stay away from that person? Because they make me feel unhappy. It's like literally everything we do in life is just to satisfy this desire. Like whatever your desire is, when you get that desire satisfied, it makes you happy. That's literally what the meaning of life is. Happiness, okay? How do you know that happiness is eternal? How do you know that there's a such thing as eternal happiness? It's because you desire it. See, your desire and my desire points towards a reality. No one is going to say to you, there is absolutely no such thing as food. Just because you're hungry, that doesn't mean that food exists. Or just because you're thirsty, that doesn't mean liquid exists. No. Like, your desire points towards a reality. No one would ever argue that food doesn't exist. Hunger came first, and then we found out that we can eat things. Food. So the fact that everyone desires in the history of mankind eternal happiness, that desire is super important, and that hunger for that that hunger for that happiness, we shouldn't ignore. Well, here's the thing. If you have eternal happiness, the only one that can satisfy that hunger for eternal happiness is Him who is eternal. God. If God is God, then He's got to be eternal. He's got to be perfect truth, perfect goodness, perfect beauty. And like, if I want the perfect, if I want the eternal, the thing that's like forever and ever and ever, I want that perfect beauty. I want that perfect truth. I want that perfect goodness, that perfect love. But how do I get it? That's what you're going to find out in this retreat, actually. And I'll just break it down. This is the first talk of the retreat. I'll break it down how God gives you that perfect happiness, that eternal happiness, perfect truth, perfect goodness, perfect beauty. Christianity is the only religion in the world where God reaches down to you. All the other religions of the world are like humanity trying to figure God out or trying to get to God. Christianity is the only religion where God is basically like, all right, you want that eternal happiness, you want that perfect beauty, perfect truth. I realize that you can't get it yourself. You're this little human on this rock flying through the universe that I created. That's not what God's like. But he realizes like, you're kind of helpless. You're kind of helpless even satisfying the deepest desire of your heart. Let me reach down to you. And this is the beauty of Christianity, is that Christianity says that God did reach down to us. You know how he did it? It's like God said, okay, you're helpless in getting this eternal happiness that you desire and want. You know what? Since you're so helpless, I'm going to make to show you that I want you to have that eternal happiness, I'm going to make myself just as helpless as you, so that you know that I'm with you. And he did. What's the most helpless thing in this world? It's a human baby, if you think about it. Have you ever held a baby? They're completely dependent upon their parents. And that's what God did. Like, he reaches down into humanity and becomes this human. And he didn't start off at age 12 or age 15 with a driver's license. He started off as this little tiny baby, the most helpless thing, who needs to be burped, changed, fed, held. Just everything has to be done for them. And it's like, okay, we're like, okay, God, I didn't realize that you just peed on me and you poop everywhere and you cry really loud. Okay, God, so you're God. Okay, so this is the meaning of life, this baby, okay? And we're okay with that for a little bit. And I think what happens is that we forgot, maybe that baby grew up, or maybe, we kind of got older, and maybe some things happened to us, right? Life happens, and we start to forget that God is with us. We forget that God reached down to us in this helpless little baby to show us that just because you're helpless, you're helpless in trying to get this eternal happiness that you desire here. Let me show you that I'm with you, and let me become helpless with you. Like, we forget about that, and we start to become afraid. And we start to do bad things to each other to cope with that fear. And we do horrible things to each other, but also to ourselves. And it's like we take that baby and we push that baby away. God has kind of a plan B, because he wants that eternal happiness for you and I. So he says, okay, you don't trust my goodness. You don't trust that I really want what's best for you, your own happiness, that I want to grant you that desire you have for eternal happiness. Okay, and you're pushing me away, and you're pushing, and when you push me away, you're also pushing each other away, and you're hurting each other, and when you hurt each other, you're hurting yourself. You're not hurting me, I'm God, but you're hurting yourself, and I love you so much that's hurting me to see you, or it hurts, and it makes me angry to see you hurt. Okay, you think that I'm out to get you? You think that I, as God, want to take away your happiness? Fine. You think that I'm here to destroy you? You think that I don't care about you and your desire for that eternal happiness? Guess what? You think God is here to destroy you? Guess what? I'm going to let you destroy me. You think that God wants to whip your back? I'm going to let you whip my back. You think that God wants to crush you? I'm going to let you crush me. It's so funny. some atheists many years ago, like this was ancient kind of atheism. They said, well, if God exists, all right, and he's all powerful, what if he like created a stone so big that like it could crush him? If God's so powerful, why doesn't he just create a rock or stone, whatever, so big that it could crush him? Well, then he wouldn't be God anymore. And it's kind of like a big, sorry, it's kind of like a big insult to God to like say that. Yeah, if you're God, why don't you just destroy yourself? Our God took us up on that. He said, you think I'm out to get you? Fine, I'll let you destroy me. And he did create a weight so big that it destroyed him. It was the cross. He fell under its weight 3 times to prove to us, you think I'm here to get you? I'll let you get me. You doubt in my power? Okay, I will create that weight so heavy it'll crush me. And it did. It crushed him to the point of death. But here's the thing about God is that, yeah, while he did create something that would kill him, he's God. And when that weight of the cross crushed him, because he's God, it turned back around and crushed death. He crushed death itself when he died and rose from the dead, taking everything that you've done, all those things that you said, you know what, this baby isn't good enough for me. I'm afraid that I'm not going to get what I want. And I start hurting myself and everybody else. And that death took that fear and everything that you've done because of that fear and crushed it. His death on the cross crushed our death that we all must go through because of our sin. So we can live forever and have that happiness forever that we desire. And you're probably like, well, wow, God, that's amazing. That's amazing. Like, I wish other people knew about that because everybody's got this eternal desire, this desire for eternal happiness. It's written into our Constitution, the pursuit of happiness. Like, well, you should tell people, God. And that's the thing about our God, is that he doesn't like say, yeah, I'm going to tell everybody. No. He says, all right, you've experienced my love for you. You believe in my love for you on the cross. I want you to tell them. I want you to participate in that mission that I had when I came to this earth as a little baby and proved my love for mankind, given my life for mankind to like destroy that fear and pain. Then I destroyed death. If you want that life that I'm giving you, I'm going to give it to you, but I want you to go and tell people about that. I want you to go and tell people about me. Well, here's the thing. If you want to do that, that's what this retreat is about. God doesn't want you to just sit around and be like, yeah, Jesus is over there. Eternal happiness is over there. He wants you to go out to other people and tell other people about how to get that burning void, that burning hunger in their heart for eternal happiness, which they like try to fill with drugs, sex, pornography, achievement. Like if I could just get the good grades, if I could just get the job, get into the college. He wants you to tell them, this is how you get the happiness that you desire, that you want. But here's the thing. You can't tell people about God unless you are so close to God that you are literally like grafted onto his skin. You got to be like, to give people God, he's got to be so close to you and you got to be so close to him that when people come in contact with you and you try to tell them about him, it's literally like him speaking in you and through you. And you're like, what? Well, how do I do that? Well, what would happen to me? Like maybe all these questions arise. The good news is that it's easier than what you think. By the fact that you are baptized in the Catholic Church, the fact that you are baptized means that you literally have the Holy Spirit dwelling in you. You have God's own Spirit alive in your heart. regardless of if you feel it or not. Like, it doesn't matter if you feel it or not. Like, his Spirit is inside of you. By the very fact that when you were born, or whenever you got baptized, maybe it was later in life, like, the priest, through that baptism, in the name of the Father, taking the water in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, calling down God's very life into you. You've already received his life in you. All you have to do is realize that his activity is right there. And through faith, so then faith does come into this. Through faith, start acting on that presence, his presence within you. Like, if you just kind of like, yeah, I like being a Christian, and I like helping people, and these retreats are fun and stuff like that. Yeah, and I want to help people. But then you go and do like all these great things for God, like feeding the poor, maybe fixing up their house, donating like all your stuff, whatever, and you're like, I'm doing this for Jesus. If you don't first, before you do all those great things on the outside, if you don't first have this relationship with him on the inside, it's like we're saying to God, Jesus, get out of my way. I can do your work better than you can. And that's one of the biggest problems in the church today. Maybe even the reason why people look at our church and they just say, they don't know, these Christians don't know what they're talking about. Because we spend more time giving people ourselves instead of giving people God. A lot of you say things like, I'm not a religious person. Sorry, maybe that's the way I hear your voices. I'm not a religious person, but I'm spiritual, but I'm not a religious person. Let's work with that for a second. Maybe you're not religious. Maybe you call yourself a spiritual person. Let me ask you this though. Do you spend time with your spirit? If you say you're a spiritual person, like everybody else in this society says they are, how often do you spend time with just you and your spirit? If God is really in you, in your interior, inner world, and you want to give people to him, how often do you spend time with just that quiet inner world? It doesn't matter what happens out here. I don't care what I look like on the outside. I don't care what these people think of me. Because everything in life starts here. You hear people say, just follow your heart. How often do you spend time with your heart? You say you're a spiritual person. God dwells within you. He says that in Scripture itself. He says, I want to be in you. Receive my body. Receive my blood. We do that every Sunday where we take God himself and we receive him inside of us. How often do you spend time with him in there? Or are you talk to him out here like he's somewhere beyond the stars and I only talk to him when life is going bad and I need something? If you're a spiritual person, if you want to live from your heart, how often do you spend time with your own spirit? Spend time with your own heart. So to do that, are you ready? To do that, to start your interior life. For the rest of this retreat, we will be silent. You're probably thinking right now, like, what is he talking about? What do you mean silent? From now until tomorrow, all of you in this retreat, will spend the rest of the retreat in silence, no talking. And you're probably thinking like, is he serious? I'm dead serious. You bought everything I said right here? You were like, yeah, okay, that sounds reasonable. Let's put our money where our mouth is. If you're serious about living from your heart, if you're serious about believing that God truly is within you, and it's not just some nice thing to say, oh, I see Jesus in you. If you're serious about that the beauty within you is more important than what you look like on the outside, then you got to dwell with yourself. And you got to dwell with the God who dwells within you. And the only way to do that, the church would say, let's have some silence and dwell with him who dwells within. This isn't the first time that I've done a silent retreat for teenagers. The first time we had a silent retreat for teenagers was in the year 2015. So if I do my math correctly, and I went to public school, so it's not that good, that was like 4 years ago. I remember there was this football player who was on the retreat. They also came to the retreat and didn't know it was going to be a silent retreat. This football player in our youth group, on Saturday night, he was off by himself, and it looked like he was having a hard time. And I came up to him and I said, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" Kind of broke the silence a little bit. He looked like he was going through something. And he said to me this. He was having a hard time. He said this. He said, "I don't know why I came on this retreat where no one talks to me, when I could have just stayed home and I could have had the same experience." I was heartbroken when he said that. And he was crying and everything. This big football player, he was crying. And I didn't know what to say. The silence was painful, and it will be painful for you too. Our world hates silence. Music is playing everywhere. You just can't be silent. We're always surrounded by technology. You're going to be doing something that is going to be painful. Every single part of you is going to be like, I can't take this. Enter in. Enter in. The name of this retreat is called Forged. It's all about fire and metal, blacksmithing. You know what happens? I got a knife that is my favorite knife. It's the Buck 110. My wife bought it for me. And it's a beautiful classic American knife made in the USA. When they make knives, what makes a knife sharp is its ability to be sharpened. Here's the thing, when you sharpen a knife, and by the way, a sharp knife is a good knife because it fulfills its purpose. A knife is for cutting. If a knife can't cut, it's dull, it's a bad knife. It doesn't fulfill its purpose. So what makes a knife sharp is you sharpen it, and when you sharpen something, you are tearing little tiny pieces of metal off it. And here's the thing, if that knife didn't go through the fire first, if you didn't do something called heat treating to that knife, what would happen is every single time you go to cut something, just like when you cut something like, a piece of wood or whatever, a piece of paper, like even that would just cause little pieces of metal just to fly off. And the knife would become just brittle and it would become dull really quickly. What makes a knife sharp, or a good knife able to be sharpened, is heat treating. They put that knife through fire. And that's what you're going to be going through this weekend. In this silence, it's going to be painful. But maybe you come here to this retreat thinking, who am I? What's my purpose in life? Who is God? And you know what your purpose is? Your purpose is to be happy. Well, guess what? God wants to fulfill that purpose. But he wants to burn away all the things in you that are preventing you from getting that eternal happiness. Because you've been seeking that happiness just in quick things. He wants to burn away in you all the distractions. The fire in this retreat is going to be the silence. You're the metal. And by the end, through the silence, you will be forged into who you are as a person. What makes you you and not somebody else. Because you'll know who you are inside because you have spent time through the silence with him who dwells within you.